Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new revenge stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, Jerk Driver Ends Up Paying for a Lot More Than a New Car. First, a little backstory. I'm a college student and cycle to campus every day. It's not a long ride at all, but I have to go through a zone where it's illegal to ride a bicycle on the sidewalk, so I'm forced to ride on the road. Most drivers don't care and just go around me, since I stay to the edge and don't make myself a nuisance. Also, I have a shitty e-bike that I commute on. This will be important later. A few weeks ago, a guy in a Ford SUV, I don't know exactly which kind, started yelling at me as he drove by while I was in the road-only zone. All the usual, get off the road, roads are for cars, you're too slow, kinda stuff. I get that from drivers on a weekly basis, I just ignore and keep going. This man was special though, since he cut right in front of me and slammed on his brakes after yelling. I was able to stop before I hit him, and he floored it out of there, yelling, better be careful next time, bike. I was pretty mad, but I hadn't got his license plate or anything, and I doubt anything could be done about it anyway. There was no real proof. Over lunch, I told one of my friends who works as an EMT the story, and he got seriously upset. Apparently he has seen the results of a car successfully brake checking on a cyclist, and they aren't pretty. 2 days later, the same Ford SUV jerk tried to brake check me again. I was expecting it as soon as I heard him yelling, get on the sidewalk, bike, from behind, so I avoided a crash again. I told my EMT friend over lunch again, and he was even madder than before. I wanted to let it go, since I can't really do anything about him, and my bicycle isn't going to win in a crash. This guy keeps trying to brake check me every few days during my morning commute, whenever we're on the same patch of road at the same time. About a week ago, my EMT friend told me that he told my story to one of his friends in the campus police, who was equally upset. The two of them wanted to catch this jerk driver. The plan was to have the policeman park on the side of the road in hopes of catching and pulling over the jerk. I heartily agreed, and the officer pulled some strings and had himself posted on speeder catching duty for that stretch of road. A few days passed uneventfully, with no sign of the road rager. I saw the cop parked in the same spot on the side of the road every day, a spot where the road has a left turn lane and a straight lane. Finally, I'm pedaling along and I hear the familiar voice scream, get the hell off the road, ducker. I yelled back, catch me then, and took off. I was spinning my scrawny little chicken legs as hard as they would go, and pegged the throttle. I guess this made the driver even madder, because I heard his engine roar as he pursued me. He shifted into the left lane as I stayed in the right. I looked to the side and saw a nasty but old man in the driver's seat, with the passenger window open. His mouth was going like he was yelling, but I couldn't hear him over the wind noise. I saw the police car's spot approaching and started to slow down. Taking the opportunity, the driver swung right in front of me. I don't know if it was the speed or his anger that made him swing wide, but he cut across my lane and crashed straight into the back of the police car. I barely applied my brakes, slowed down to about 15 miles per hour, and crashed into the side of his car. The officer got out, spitting mad would be an understatement, and called an ambulance and another police car. Everyone was unhurt, since the jerk was going only like 25 miles per hour, but there was enough of an impact to trigger the SUV's airbags. The jerk ended up getting arrested for driving drunk, seriously, who drinks before 9 AM, for an illegal lane change, and probably other stuff too. I don't know all the details. I imagine that causing a crash like that would entail some additional charges. The guy ended up having to pay for extensive repairs on the police cruiser and for a new e-bike to replace the one he destroyed by cutting in front of me. The frame snapped. On top of that, I hear that his car was defined as totaled by his insurance company, since the airbags went off, so he also has to pay for a new car. With any luck, he'll lose his license from the drunk driving charges and won't be able to menace cyclists again. The next one is titled, I recorded a coworker loving himself at work for eating my chocolate. Let's name everyone involved in this. John, my boyfriend. The designer. Jenny, me. I did mostly video. Sarah, another coworker. She was the best photographer there. Mario, to say that he was useless is an understatement. The reason why I'm writing this. Donna, the director's assistant. Amy, the accountant. Years ago, I worked in a government institution where I live. It wasn't a good job, it was basically volunteer paid work that was an excuse to not give employees any security a real job would offer, but I accepted because I needed the money and I had just finished college. I used to work in the communication department with other 4 co-workers. One of them was my boyfriend, still together to this day, and the youngest one, Mario, was a guy who was still in high school and got his girlfriend pregnant. His mum worked in other government institution and she got him that job. That's one of the reasons the boss couldn't fire him. We had to make designs, take pictures, do video, post on social media, check on the press when they wanted an interview with one of our bosses and many, many other things. Mario was supposed to know some about photography and design because he told us that's what he was studying at school. But we knew later that he didn't attend school often, so he was very, very bad at almost everything, and we tried to show him how to do his work, but he was really stubborn and lazy. He never learned completely how to do the basic work. He always had problems with many people, not with us at the beginning because he acted polite. That changed later. He was disrespectful when taking pictures, he was late almost every day, and he used to post in social media about government and fight to other people who didn't agree with him. Sarah and John would talk to him about how working in a government institution you couldn't do that, it's simply not okay. However, he never changed and told his mum we were against him. Mario went to work around 2 to 4 hours a day. Usually John and Sarah would be the only ones to see him because they worked more hours than the rest of us, but he would stay in the office around 1 or 2 hours alone, or they would send him to take pictures for the same time. One day he had to take pictures of some event practice. Everyone else was off the clock. It wasn't a big event and he had been working there around a year by the time, so we thought that he could go by himself. The accountant had to go there and decided to take him with her and one co-worker of hers in her car. He was late again and that's why he couldn't go in one of the work cars. The accountant left her purse open in that space that's in the middle of the driver and the co-driver's seats. When they went back to the office she noticed her wallet disappeared. She instantly knew that had to be Mario, the one who took it. They began to search him and our office and found nothing. Somebody found the wallet under the vending machine. At first, we took his side because they admitted that never found anything and because it wasn't right to search in our office without anybody else there, mostly because we had photography equipment that wasn't exactly cheap. However, when we knew how the wallet was found and when we talked to him, we knew it was him. More money and stuff disappeared when he was there, but nobody could prove he took them. The bosses didn't want to create a scandal, so they let it happen. Our office used to be the conference room, so it was attached to the kitchen. And the director had beverages there for visits. We could use the kitchen but not touch those beverages, but Mario couldn't even get in there. Anyway, the sodas began to disappear and the director's assistant complained to us. We said we didn't take them and she wouldn't believe us. One day John noticed that our door to the kitchen was broken and that you could take the lock easily. With a pencil, we used to find pencils without tips. He took it inside the mechanism and then the door opened. It took its time, but he proved that Mario was getting in the kitchen when nobody else was there. However, that didn't make a difference and nothing was done, not even talking to him. One day, John and me were on our way to work but I didn't have breakfast, so we stopped at a store. I bought something to eat and a chocolate. I put it inside the fridge and forgot about it. The next day I remembered about it and went to check. It wasn't there and I got mad. John and I checked the trash can, it was clean and empty, and we just watched, and we found just little pieces of that chocolate. So we asked for a video camera that someone offered us before. It could record for long hours. I want to clarify at this point that we didn't take the decision of everything you are about to read just because of a chocolate. The chocolate was the last straw. For like a year we had to put up with our bosses scolding us because of him. He never wanted to learn how to do his job and things were always disappearing, including personal things. The first day, Donna left money in one of her drawers and left it slightly open so he could see the money. We put the camera in other building that was in front of ours. We had big windows, floor to ceiling, and you could watch Donna's desk and the hallway, some lady's office, our door and the director's office. The other building just had empty offices then but had big curtains, that's why Mario couldn't see the camera. We went home that day and left the camera recording. The next day there was the money, maybe because we left one billet equivalent to $5 and he knew we would know he took it. I checked the camera and watched him getting in the lady's office. I don't know what she did there, and he took some cookies from her office, but he looked suspicious. Again, with this we couldn't do much, so that night John found an old cell phone that could record for 2 hours. The next day, Donna left the $5 again, but now she left $1 bills and the same drawer slightly open. We placed the camera in the other building and John disguised his old cell phone with a binder and some sticky tape. That day he got a loan for a little less than 2 hours and left. John and me had a car, so we were in mall close there, just killing time, and then we went back. For the cell phone. OMG. John watched a little bit of the video. Before the battery died, he said that he saw something weird but wasn't sure because the screen was very damaged and we were in the car I was driving. When we got in John's house, we could watch everything he had done inside our office. Not the other camera because the building was closed and we didn't have access to it until the next day. First, we saw him getting in the office, watching some YouTube. Everything normal. Then he went out, and when he came back we saw him putting something in his pocket, but it wasn't clear what. Then we saw how easily he took a pencil, opened the kitchen's door, and took something like a yogurt, then he closed the door. That we could hear that he was watching something like a channel that's very famous in our country. But then we heard noises, yeah, that kind of noises. We were supposed to have blocked that kind of videos and websites. I mean, those were government offices and the IT team had checked recently everything. But some way he was watching porn on the computer I used to work. And if you are thinking if he did what you are thinking, the answer is yes. Thanks God the cell phone didn't record his hands, but you could see his shoulder moving and him licking his finger. I know, very disgusting. Well, he ended and didn't even wash his hands. I was so shocked and disgusted when I saw that I wanted to cry. The next day, the first thing I did was to call the IT department to clean the computer. We didn't say why because of obvious reasons. John took the camera and we could watch him when he went out of the office and checked carefully if somebody was around. Then he went to Donna's desk and took $1. He went inside the woman's office and took something, but we couldn't see what. Then he went into our office. We called Donna to our office and she was shocked. Then Sarah watched the video as soon as she got there. Then the director arrived and we asked him and Amy to go to our office. We showed them the video. The director was very young and trusted us a lot, so he didn't hold his laughter when the self-love pat began. Amy was a young and delicate woman, so she just turned around and covered her eyes while letting a small scream out. We finally get the proof needed to fire him. When he got to work they didn't let him in. I don't know how the conversations went, but I know some of the words exchanged. Amy, you stole again and we told you, and last time we told you it was your last chance. Mario, raising his voice, I didn't do anything. You're always blaming me. Amy, we have proof. Mario, you don't have anything. All of you hate me. Amy, don't make me show you. Mario, well, show me. Amy called our office. John, could you bring the videos? John, the first one, the video camera one, or the second, the cell phone one? Amy, the second one. When he heard that he was defeated he became very nervous. John took his time downloading the video into his computer because it was in mine and went to the office. Amy was talking to Mario. John told me he was about to show him the video and then he asked Mario, John, Mario, do you really want to watch this video? Mario, he couldn't even watch John in the eyes. No, I don't want. Amy, play at least the first video for him. John, I don't have that one, let me go through it. I admit that I just wanted to see Mario's face, so I went to that office to give them an USB, but he didn't really watch me. Amy, to John and me, okay, thank you, that's gonna be all. And we left the office. We know she said something like, Amy, after playing the video, you always said it was us and even told your mum that we wanted to get you in trouble all the time. You even told really bad things about this place. You are fired and we don't ever want to hear about you complaining to anybody else in the central, or we're going to show these 2 videos to your mum. And he just left. Then we heard that he actually told lies to his mum, like, Mario, they hated me and told lies to make him fire me, but no one ever told his mum, not that I know. Well, this story made me realize that someone could be recording me anywhere I go. I mean, even I did it to someone. The next one is titled, Park in Our Disabled Spot, Enjoy Selling Your Home. So my little sister, who is the sweetest girl in the world, is 12 years old but can't walk or communicate. Her mental age is around 6 months. She obviously cannot attend a regular school, but since we live in a big city, there is a wonderful school for kids like her. Even though we don't own a car, since we don't need one, we got the city to put up signs in front of our house designating a 4-meter spot for wheelchair pickup and drop-off for her school bus every morning and afternoon. The signs went up perhaps 2 years ago, and after the first week we never really had any issues since most of our neighbors are wonderful and totally understanding of our designated spot. For some context, we live in a perhaps poorer community, though we're well off, but in our 9 years here, we've had nothing but great interactions with everyone here. Sadly, the neighborhood is gentrifying and we're getting more self-centered people with their Mercedes-Benz or Audis honking while my sister gets loaded onto her school bus, which takes around 4 minutes, but blocks our little street, which really upsets us, as well as the other sane people that witness it. Naively, we thought this would be the extent of our unpleasant interactions. In September, we woke up like on any other Monday morning to find a shiny BMW parked in our disabled spot. It wasn't just partially in it, it was positioned perfectly to take up the entire spot. To make things worse, there were about a dozen open spots on the block, and it's not like they were all vacated that morning since we wake up at 6 a.m. We were baffled. I'd seen this car many times since last July, and it was definitely the same car, since there aren't many burgundy sports cars in our neighborhood. It was usually parked about 20 meters south on our street, so we knew it belonged to a neighbor a few doors down. We did all the basics in this type of situation. We took a picture, took down the license plate and called the police to report it. The cops came by within the hour and wrote a big fat ticket. I believe it was for $700, but don't quote me on it. Anyways, it was a significant amount. At around noon, a smug angry guy came knocking on my door. I had the day off from school and was home on my own. It was obvious that it was the owner of the car, so I made a quick decision to record the conversation, or screaming match, on my phone. I opened the door and before I could say a thing, the douche lays into me. I'm a 16-year-old guy and he's in his mid-40s, midlife crisis maybe. He accuses me of all things ranging from putting up those signs this morning to frame him to being racist. He was East Asian I believe, but we have a really diverse community. He goes on to say that disabled spots shouldn't even be a thing, that it's always empty, totally shooting himself in the foot based on his previous comments, that we should pay for his undeserved ticket, that it isn't even an inconvenience since the spot next to his was free and my sister could just get on the bus from there, blah blah blah. Once he finished, I said okay, and shut the door on his furious face. He rang the doorbell another 5 times before storming off. To my satisfaction, the recording caught everything fairly clearly. In the evening I told my parents what had happened and gave my dad a copy of the recording. We have a pretty tight-knit community, for the most part, and there is a neighborhood Facebook group with around 3,000 members. My dad decided to post a summary of what had happened along with the recording and a picture of the car in our spot on the page. There was immediate uproar with people saying they would fight back or whatever. We were humbled by the feeling that our community was standing up for us, but we didn't think anything would come of it. The next day, I leave the house to go to school and walk by the guy's car back in his normal spot and notice that the front right tire was deflated. Upon closer inspection, it was slashed. As I said, our community is tight-knit, but I can't say I expected anything like this to happen. The guy must have seen the Facebook post, because he didn't come back to our house to complain or accuse us of anything. The following weeks were sweet. Whenever I saw him in public, people would go up to him and remind him that he was a shitty human being, a bit harsh in my opinion, but they weren't my words. In November, his house had a for sale sign in the window. The house market had also gone down by a bit. I'm always kind of curious about how much houses similar to ours are selling for compared to how much we paid for ours in 2010, so I knew what he paid for it in July. Once I saw the for sale sign, I rushed home and checked the local house listings, and lo and behold, he was selling for $90,000 less than what it was going for in July. He really wanted to get out of our neighborhood. While his crime wasn't nearly worth $90,000, I must say that I don't feel bad. Worst case scenario, he sells that obnoxious car of his, which would easily cover the lost money. Let's just say that we haven't had a single car parked in my sister's spot since. The last one is titled, "Let Your Kids Run Wild." Guess what? You're buying shoes for them and not the $90 shoes you wanted. In the late 90s, I worked for a major retail store that was well known for its open commercials. I was hired for seasonal work and quickly learned how to run every department and quickly was working solo in many of the departments. Well, the particular day in question, I was assigned to their shoe department. It was 20 minutes to closing and the customer walks in with 4 kids all under the age of 5. I had just finished cleaning up the department and when she just left her kids to run wild while she looked for shoes in peace. I was seeing red. Her kids are in tattered shoes and their outfits aren't much better while over-entitled mum OEM is in really nice clothing and is wearing what I knew to be a $200 pair of shoes. Also, there is no way I'm staying late to clean up after her kids. I was a nanny to large families and foster families before moving to the state I currently live in, so I'm really good with kids. To top it off, at the time I'm 19 years old, and well, I'm an extremely sarcastic, petty person. Cue my revenge. I go gather the kids as soon as she's out of sight and in my sweetest nanny way ask them if they want new shorts today. All 4 kids' eyes light up and they are so excited that the nice lady said they get new shoes. Well, I measure their feet and take them over to where the children's shoes are. I let them pick shoes they want and not only make sure they fit but put the pairs of shoes on the kids. As she stayed after closing, we had closed the metal doors to the mall, so she's locked inside the store. She comes out with a $90 pair of shoes for her to see her kids all smiling, holding shoe boxes and wearing shoes. OEM starts telling the kids they didn't come to get them shoes but that mommy needed new shoes. Cue the kids starting to bawl. The manager comes and the OEM starts getting uppity about how I needed to be fired for watching her kids while she ignored them and helping them find new shoes. The manager takes the shoeboxes from the kids and looks at their old shoes and then looks at OEM with a "are you ducking" serious look on her face. She says, "Well, I've been watching security footage and noticed you left the kids without supervision as soon as you entered the store." Then she asks OEM if she would like to purchase the kids new shoes or if she would like us to call CPS and report her for negligence, as we have all the proof needed to have her kids taken by CPS. OEM turns red and throws the shoes she was going to buy back towards the women's department and curtly told me to ring the kids' shoes up. She paid and stormed out without a receipt, so no returns, with the kids who are all super happy that they got new shoes. The next part one found out later when I ran into the overly awesome manager shopping. OEM came back to the store several months later. Apparently, overly awesome manager couldn't get the situation off her mind and she called CPS on OEM. OEM had paid with a check, so the manager had OEM's name and address and asked for a wellness check on the kids. CPS in the end took the kids. OEM returned to the store to confront me for her losing her meal ticket, as she lost her welfare checks when she lost the kids. Apparently, she caused such a scene that the police were called. OEM was arrested, permanently lost the kids, and the manager was in the process of trying to adopt all 4 kids when we spoke last. I lost contact with the overly awesome manager after the store closed. The mall was torn down and a much nicer commerce, residential open-air mall was rebuilt. The company closed the chain store down and now only has the cheaper store associated with red circles that the manager didn't go work for. Thanks for listening.